with it. Um, it's going to be interesting because I use my hands a lot, and this is going to be different. So, good morning. Still figuring out a way to tape this to my chest so I don't have to. We have some duct tape. I tell you, and just bring it over closer. Yeah, that's right. Thank you. Oh, this is going to go like. Well, this is going like this. It goes up like that. It's going to go like that. That should be better. Not close enough yet. Okay. Because this is going to work better if I don't have to hold this. Okay, just this is me, and then maybe about right here. I don't think I'm having it any closer to my mouth than that. Whoa. Hmm. It's okay. I understand. We love y'all. Okay. It's just did a little bit different. So I'm going to be trusting at a greater level than I normally do. Because this is putting me in. Hmm. Good morning. Hmm. It's always a pleasure to be here. This place is an icon for me. It's been around forever. I grew up in the Bay Area. I've been hearing about Home of Truth for at least 35, 40 years. So this is my second time being here. And so I'm very grateful. I kind of feel like I've stepped up. I'm at the Home of Truth, And and it's interesting that, I came here. Sometimes you have to. I remember one of my teachers, Dr. Margaret Storts, she said to me once, because she had just come back from a trip to Europe and she was in Great Britain and doing a lot of things over there, and everybody was bowing down and said, "Oh, the great Margaret Storts." And we were all happy for her. And she says, "Well," she says, "Muata, she said, the further away from home you go, the more popular you become." That old script, the one that says, "No one's a hero to their valet," you know. And I know that, Jesus didn't heal anybody in Nazareth. He went home and they're like, "Don't tell us about that Messiah. You just a dude from down the street, man." And so we remember you. And so the idea that there's no place like home takes on a lot of different things. And it's interesting the way the talk is taken over right now, because I kind of just like let things happen. And as I'm talking right now, I'm realizing home. This is why this isn't working right here. Okay. Home. Hmm. Home is an idea. Home is a definition of origin. We all have an origin story. All people have an origin story. And an origin story usually has to have some kind of mystical content to it, because we don't have a physical explanation from a logical perspective of how, at least from a Western mindset, of how we came to be. Now we can listen to the scientists who tell us everything, and I love the one about we're all the remnants of a core of a star. A star exploded and several comets, all this stuff happened, and all of these eons, all these things happened, all these supposed catastrophes in the universe all happened so I could stand here and talk to you right now. It feels good, it's like, the whole universe just played out this whole drama so that I could have a fanfare and walk in to a ticker tape parade and just live my life, and that people are all on the sidelines cheering me on along the way. It's like, that's a good way of thinking. We don't always have the evidence to back that up. And so it's easy to fall into the idea that there's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with life. And if you're anything like me, there's something wrong with everybody else. And so when I think about home and I think about growing up, and I'm realizing at some point, I realized I looked around and I said, these are not my people. This cannot be the sum total of who I am. And as I'm saying this, it's not a criticism of my family or where I've been. It's just that at a young age, I realized, and Dr. Holmes, the founder of religious science, says, there's more to me than flesh and bone. There's an innate sense that there was more to me than my immediate family. There was a consciousness that I had that I did not see there. Interestingly enough, my family of origin, quote unquote, evolved to have a level of consciousness that I was thinking we should have had when I was a child, even though I didn't know what it was that I was expecting them to have. As we matured, as we grew, we tended to go in a direction that this is where we are right now. Are you following me so far? Okay. So I went through a lot of different iterations to find myself. I remember when I first found this philosophy, I was so far off the track that my favorite song, at least one of them at the time, was a piece by Gil Scott Heron that said, "Home is where the hatred is. Home is where the needle marks tried to mend my broken heart, and it might not be such a bad idea if I never went home again." The origin story is important. When we don't have peace with it, every aspect of our life carries that unpeace with it. Most of us don't have an origin story that's grounded in peace, because the people who raised us weren't grounded in peace, and we didn't have the wherewithal to go out and ground ourselves in peace. And so we're operating from a place where we're out of sync with our true nature, because it's our true nature to be at peace. And I say it's our true nature to be at peace because it's our true nature to be at one. And what is being at one? Being at one is a realization of wholeness. Being at one is the idea that mind, spirit, and body is one word, one concept, one idea, that we cannot separate these things. And so we are all in this, not just together physically, but spiritually, mentally, emotionally. The whole thing is happening all at one time. And if there's a malfunction anywhere, it affects everything. One of the things that you'll notice if you ever go to get like posture or gait adjustments, you're dealing with, you can, like I had a hip out of alignment recently. All I know is I'm having tremendous back pain. I don't know why I'm having this back pain. And I go to see this person who's does massage. And I wasn't expecting total relief, but I get some relief. And it turns out this person has done enough studying on her craft that she says, well, your posture is out of alignment. You're standing wrong. And she did this thing, and she said, hey, your hips are hit this way, and you push them this way. She started working on my thigh muscles, which I'm like, what does this have to do with my back? And it's like, but when she was finished, I felt great. Because the body's a closed system. Everything is not connected. Everything's part of the one thing. That song from the 50s about the knee bone, and you guys are old enough to remember this, knee bone connects. I feel at peace. I'm with my people here. This is my room, So it's like, we're going to be the Gray Panthers up in here. And so, yes, everything is part of the one thing, an aspect, not even a part, because a part indicates a separation that it can be moved in and out. But we don't have parts. We're just one thing. The human body is one thing, and the human body is not one thing by itself, because the human body cannot exist by itself. It must have an environment in which it's to exist. And so when we talk about healing in a spiritual community, and I'm like, healing in a spirit, what the heck, healing is healing? No, in a spiritual community is different. And I'm going to tell you why. In a spiritual community is different because a spiritual community is designed to give reference to and authority to an idea of spirit, something beyond the body. There's more to me than flesh and bone, yes? Is there more to me than flesh and bone? Can you say that? Thank you. Happy birthday to you, Marilyn. Thank you very much. Names are my specialty. I'm changing the. So, oh my goodness. A spiritual community. One of the things we do at the San Francisco Center for Spiritual Healing is every week I have them repeat after me this. Is that, who's that back there? Okay, that's right. Okay, I'm just, names are my specialty. Remember that. Yeah. So, where was I? Thank you. Absolutely. Please repeat after me. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can make a difference in the world Indeed, that's all that ever has. Thank you very much. That's a quote by Margaret Mead, and I think she sums it all up in that statement right there. And I had trouble with this because I didn't like the word citizen, because just growing up, I had in the 60s, so I developed my own idea about what that meant. But from what I understand now, citizen means to dwell within. And so to dwell within what? I actually do dwell within an idea and a community that believes that God is all there is, that there's something called oneness and something called wholeness. And so when we talk about health in a spiritual community, we have to approach it from wholeness and not from the separateness of physical, mental, spiritual. Mind, spirit, and body is what? One word. Yes? Hmm. And so there's a story about a group of monks. They have a monastery that is in decline. And it's in decline because they're all getting old and they're not doing as much as they used to do. And they haven't got any new blood coming in. And so they're afraid they're going to just be a dying order. They don't know what's going to happen to the grounds. But they hear about this holy person who's coming through the area, and they decide to send one of theirs to meet the holy person and speak with the holy person. Perhaps the holy person can come up with a solution for this particular place. That seems to be on his last legs. So they elect someone who goes, and he finally comes back, and they say, well, how was your trip? The trip was fine. Did you meet the holy man? I'm not saying holy man, I'm saying holy person because I'm trying to be as PC as I can. You just say, so if I say, I'll try to switch them back from man to woman, but you see what I'm saying? Because we've divided what that must mean, okay? And it's like we have to understand that we're all one thing. No matter what we call ourselves, we're still one thing. The human being is not one gender or another, okay? It still requires all of us to be one of us. It's important to remember this, especially in a spiritual community, because we come to a spiritual community with the predefined cultural differences that we began to identify with as children in our homes, and the biases and the prejudices and the benefits and the what's the word people kick around right now? Thank you very much. Who said that? Privileges. Thank you. And the privileges. We're not going to read anything into why you came up with that. I don't know why she came up with privilege. None of us did. That's all. That's here you go. Look at that. But it's okay. It's not my problem. Y'all can't come up with the word privileges. I'm using mine. You better use yours because we all get some. So he comes back. They ask him about his trip. They ask him, did he talk to the holy person? The Holy One. Let's say the Holy One. And person says yes. This is a monster. There's a man there. So yes, the man says yes. And he says, well, what did he say? Well, it's interesting. When I spoke to the Holy One listened very intently. And then he told me, she told me, it told me, they told me, even they, Of course, as a religious scientist, I believe there's only one of us here, so there is no they. I don't get to blame my problems on what they said and what they did. So I'm even having trouble with the they. You say, well, wait a minute. If there's only one, how can there be a they? But I've been a they my whole life because I haven't been like nobody. So I just find myself in constant state of surrender. And it seems to be working. So the holy woman said, they said, thank you very much. They said that one of us is the Christ. And I was curious. They looked around like, one of us is the Christ? That's what they said. I thought it was crazy too. I wasn't even going to say anything, but you guys kept asking me, so I'm telling you. So they looked around and said, well, what the heck could it be if one of us is the Christ? I bet it's Paul over there. Paul's been a really good steward, and he's really been showing up on time and doing a lot. I remember he helped me out last week. I was saying, yeah, maybe it is Paul. So guess what? They started treating Paul a little bit better. Give him some extra potatoes in the lunch line. You can have my spice. Yeah, okay, you need a drink of water, Paul. Everybody's catering to Paul. But things didn't get any better. Say, no, it can't be Paul, because if it was Paul, we'd be doing better by now. Maybe it's old Sam over there. They start treating Sam a little bit better. One by one, they went through the entire group trying to figure out which one is the one. Of course, as this happened, the camaraderie in the group grew. The sense of closeness and affection grew. The sense of joy increased. And one day there's a family picnicking on the grounds. There's a young man there, and he's looking at all this beautiful place, and he decides, this feels so good. I'd like to study here. I'd like to learn here. I'd like to grow here. And he joins the group, and they begin to prosper. And the idea here is that there's something called an expectation when it comes to healing. There's something called an expectation when it comes down to everything. We like to talk about it's done unto us as we believe. That's boilerplate. That's like Bible. That's like gospel. It's reciprocity in action. People know it. Everybody knows it. I've built my whole ministry talking about reciprocity. I understand it, but this idea that one of us is the one forces us to look at the idea that if one of us is that, then maybe what they said, that means I could be it. Can you say I could be the one? I love it. Here's when I'm kind of trying to get my stories mixed up, but when Michael Bethel went to Ghana to meet Brother Ishmael Tete, who's a mystic over there with a metaphysical church, very much like what we do. And he'd heard about this place in Accra, Ghana that's doing. He's like, what the heck? They got some people over there. We're interested in that. So he goes looking for him, and nobody, airport, he can't get any directions. He's in different places trying to find out where this group is. Nobody knows what he's talking about. There's some old guy sweeping up the place, listening to him, asking, he says, you looking for that church? He says, I know where it is. Yeah, I go there myself. Yeah, I'll show you where it is. Takes him there. He walks in, Brother Ishmael sees him. As soon as Ishmael sees him, he calls him to the back. Michael walks in with his entourage. You follow me so far? They go back and they compare notes about what they believe. And when they come out, Brother Ishmael points to Brother Michael. He says, he's the one. They all started cheering. They all started clapping. And they all started celebrating. And he said, when he says he's the one, he realized the same thing is funny. Oh, Lord, this talk is coming together. I love it. I love it when you don't know why you're being led a different way. And then when you go that way, then all these things flow in. So I didn't know. So Brother Ishmael was having a problem with getting the people in Accra, in Africa, to listen to what he's saying. The missionaries have done some really good work there in colonizing the minds of the people. And so, he's just like swimming uphill here. And I like mixing up my math, swimming uphill. That's a good one. I remember that one. I can use that one again. You heard it here first, folks. And so he predicted that someone from the West would come to Africa, to Accra, to Etherian Mission, which is the name of his organization. And that person from the West would tell them exactly what he's telling them. And they would believe him. Says, okay, someone's coming from the West. You'll believe that person. You won't believe me. So when he says, are you the one? Michael said, yes, I'm the one. He came in and said, he's the one. He's the one I've been telling you about. And he's about to tell you exactly what I told you. Now, maybe you'll believe him. The reason I tell this story, there's a couple of reasons. The first reason is this. If they ask you, if you remember the movie Ghostbusters, okay, in Ghostbusters, when they got Zool, okay, the original, and Zool's there, and the guy's trying to stop Zool, this evil entity, from rampaging the earth. He says, I'm telling you, you got to stop. You can't do this anymore. Zool stops and looks at him and says, are you a god? I think it was Dan Aykroyd. He said, am I a god? Why, no. And so Zool says, then die. And starts to kill him. Where is he going with this talk? He's all over the place with this. This is not me. This is consciousness streaming directly for y'all. Just for you, Marilyn. You ordered this up special. And so she said, I did. That's right. So he asked him, are you the one? It's the same thing as asking, are you God? There's only one answer to are you the one? What is it? Okay. Yes, I am the one. Now that changes things now, doesn't it? Because see, we have an idea about what the one is, or even who the one could be. Usually that idea and who we see ourselves to be is something different. Healing in a spiritual community begins with the realization that there's something called oneness, and in that oneness, there's something called perfection, and in that perfection, there's something called wholeness, and that wholeness is the essence of who I am. I am the one who is whole. They say they asked the Buddha about his religion. He said, I am awake. That's my religion. I'm awake. I am the one. I'm the one what? I'm the one who's manifesting the life that I'm living right now. I'm the one who says I'm sick. I'm the one who says I'm well. I'm the one who says I'm rich. I'm the one who says I'm poor. I'm the one who's creating my life. I'm the one who's making a mess out of everything or making a blessing out of everything. I am the one. I'll tell you something. The reason why we don't say I'm the one is because it comes with too much responsibility. See, we like the idea that I'm the one and I have all this power. But what's the line from Spider-Man? With great power comes great authority. Now that means I have to have the authority to make things what I think is fair and equitable. Responsibility. But you see, I got too many problems with that because I have too many issues where I felt marginalized, where I felt small, where I felt taken advantage of, where life didn't go my way. So there's a bunch of people who got to get what they got coming to them before I can be well. Thank you for that. I was hoping there'd be at least a little bit of smattering of laughter, applause. So thank you for that. I appreciate it because it's the truth. We've got what they say in the 12-step prayer. We have reservations. You know, as soon as this happens, then I'll be completely sober. I'll get well. I'll be okay with this healing, this forgiveness. And as soon as this thing gets resolved, there's a reason why I can't step into my divine authority because this thing is in my way. And it's a story that we're telling ourselves about our limitation. And that story is based on an idea of who we see ourselves to be. And as long as our origin story is not whole, perfect, and complete, then we will always have an opportunity to create an issue, a schism, an idea, a sickness, a doubt. And that's when we start to experience something different. See, wholeness and perfection is not contingent upon anybody else's behavior, even my own. Health is not about not being sick. Health is about the realization of wholeness. This is what I'm loving what, because I tried my best to get some quotes by the Rix sisters, and Annie in particular. There's not a lot printed. On the internet, I scoured. I went to AI, couldn't find anything. I'm like, what the heck? I promised them I was going to say something about that today. So if you see me back there, I was frank. I said, there must be some somewhere. And I don't have any books on my own. So hopefully I can get something today. So if and when I'm back again, I can do some direct messages from there. But I do know everything flows from, what was that? Mary Baker Eddy, Emma Curtis Hopkins, and then there's the lineage from there. But even before that, there was Quimby, and Quimby has a quote that I really like. And he says, matter is mind and form, and mind is matter and solution. Can we say that? Matter is mind and form, and mind is matter and solution. This is an equation of wholeness. When we recognize that the spiritual universe manifests itself in a physical form. In religious science, we have a thing called, in Dr. Holmes' What We Believe statement, he says the manifest universe is the body of God. What a concept. If we have an idea of God, they say God is invisible. Well, maybe the invisibility of God is in the inability to recognize the presence of God everywhere. Maybe God is ubiquitous and not invisible. And if that's so, that means whenever I look in the mirror, I'm looking at a mirror image of the divine. The beautiful thing about coming to a spiritual center that says there's something called God and that you're one with this thing called God is you get to feel good about yourself. You get to have a certain amount of privilege. See, I have the privilege of knowing God is all there is and that I'm one with God. It comes with a certain amount of power that people that don't understand don't have. It means that when I'm in a circumstance, Kipling's got this wonderful poem called If, and there's a line in there, he says, if you can keep your head about you when all others are losing theirs and blaming it on you. You know, and I have the ability to do that because I'm in the world, but not of the world. I'd love to say I've always been a they. My whole life I was a they. And I say back in the day, I'm not from around here. Okay. I don't know where I'm from, but this is not my home. Rumi talks about it in I think the name of that might be Elsewhere. He says, it's a poem about, he says, this place is a tavern for drunks. Whoever brought me here is going to have to bring me home because I can't get back there on my own. But when I get back there, I'm going to be free. If you have the conscience of wholeness, it's a place for liberation and enjoyment. But if you do not, it's just a bar for being unconscious. And there's a lot of us, we don't drink and we don't take substances, but we walking around just as unconscious as the people who do. Unconsciousness is unconsciousness, yes? So the way we have health in a spiritual community is recognize, first of all, this spiritual community is designed to have one objective, and that's for each of us to be reduced to one simple thing, God. And if I have a relationship with anybody in here that's not a God-inspired, God-divine relationship, then I am the unhealed spot in this community. I'm just telling on myself. Nobody told me nothing about y'all. I don't know anything about the ins and outs and the ramifications going here, but I do know something about human nature, and I do know something about consciousness. I know that consciousness is cause. And if I'm having any issue in my life, including a health issue, it goes back to one thing, and that is cause. And consciousness, God is first cause. And if I am one with God, that means I am first cause. That means what I think is making a difference in my life. It's making a life in my spiritual community. A difference in my spiritual community. Dr. Forks, Ernie Forks, my first teacher, he had us do an affirmation. And I love the way you do your service with the visions. I liked what you do here. He had this thing he would say at the end of his talks, he'd have us do an affirmation. He'd say, something great and wonderful is happening in my life and the life of my church. It's funny how things are stupid until you understand. You know, I was just a guy came off the streets. I had no idea this is where I was headed. And now I'm simply saying, you know what? Something great and wonderful. People, anytime you have an opportunity for prayer, take it. It doesn't matter who's praying. You take it. You take it because you understand that prayer matters. If I accept prayer, that means I'm grateful for that person praying. Gratitude is the cornerstone of consciousness. Gratitude is the cornerstone of consciousness. You just can't get around that. And I'm telling you this because I had to get remedial gratitude training to get where I'm at right now. Okay. Some of us come into the world more grateful than others. I don't know what happened to me along the way, but somewhere along the line, I developed enough ingratitude that I actually got a direct message from God one day about how ungrateful I am. Hopefully you don't have that level of gratitude that I had at the time. But it helped me to understand that I need to work on that particular thing. People, when somebody's in your face and they're telling you something that you really don't want to hear and you know how wrong they are, that's the time to get on your knees and thank God for that person, because that person's a flagman with the lantern saying the bridge is out. Go back the other way. And what's the other way? Return to home. If there's somebody standing in front of me doing anything, I ordered them special. There's something here. Brother Ishmael, I talked about him before. He's got an expression. He likes to say, what is the learning? Brother Ishmael doesn't care what happened to you. He doesn't care what the situation is. As you begin to tell your tale of woe, he asks one question: what is the learning? What have you learned from this? The only thing that's important is not what happened, but how are we handling what we perceive what happened? We like to talk about it's done unto us as we believe. I'm coming back because you see, what we believe is based on what has happened up until now, based on what we accept as reality up until now. When I had home is where the hatred is, the foundation of my life was built on rejection and sorrow. The foundation of my life was built in a place where I felt disempowered, like the world and the universe was taking advantage of it, was against me, and I had to look out for myself. As they say in the fight game, protect yourself at all time. And my fist was always balled up, looking for a reason to defend myself. But I found the philosophy that told me that I was one with the divine. And for some reason, I didn't have a problem believing that. Okay, thank you very much. I didn't have a problem believing that. So I came back to hear more. But they had to bring this other piece in that was a big heavy lift, and that everything is God expressing, not just you, Muata. You're unique. Everything is unique. Everything is God. In a spiritual community, we have to understand that everything we're looking at is divine. And so instead of laying blame on the things that we disagree with, we show some gratitude that, first of all, I'm just glad people are here doing whatever they can do, even if I don't like what they're doing. I'm glad we both have the vision to be here and do something about this wonderful place we call the home of truth, this sacred institution, this sacred space where people can come here and find out the truth about themselves. And so if I have a judgment about somebody that's not whole, perfect, and complete, then I don't know the truth about myself, which is why I can't know the truth about themselves. And the problems that we're having are apparent because I see problems. In the spiritual community, I see opportunity to be the blessing. And if one of us goes down for whatever reason, I recognize myself. I'm here to be that place where I can affect the healing in the community because I know that I'm whole. So, right now, as I'm tying this up, because I'm being reminded, and I want to tie it up, the people in that place changed what was happening because they expected something different. The law of expectation, people. We don't get what we want. We don't get what we deserve. We get what we expect. And our expectation is based on what we've already accepted as what's real. So do you expect? Jesus asked the question, would thou be made whole? Do you expect to get well? That's all you have to know. There's an expectation of wholeness here. There's an expectation of healing here. And there's an expectation of knowing the truth about myself. And in that knowing, I know the truth about everybody present and the function and the mission and vision of the center. God bless you for keeping this space available. In another 100 years, they won't know us, but they'll know God and they'll know truth. And they'll know this is their home. Thank you. God bless and happy birthday, Marilyn. God bless us each and every one. Thank you for your patience to me. And what do we do now?